What's going on, guys? Jerry Neutron here, and today we're going to take a look at the latest flagship device from LG. This is the G4. This device is sporting a beautiful 5.5-inch 1440p IPS display with 538 pixels per inch, making it one of the sharpest displays released this year. Seriously, whoever says 1440p screens are unnecessary on smartphones doesn't own one. And the relatively thin bezel and lack of hardware buttons make the front of this device appear to be constructed of purely display, something one M9 users hoped for but didn't actually get. If you're big on media consumption, this is definitely a phone to consider, even if the rear speaker is a little bit meh. The back of the G4 has this faux metallic gray finish, which basically feels like plastic, and it's okay, although I do think the leather versions look much classier. Potential buyers will be excited to know that the back is actually removable, revealing a 3000 mAh battery and an open micro SD card slot for extra storage. I personally don't need a lot of space, so the 32 GB of internal storage is plenty for me, but I know many were upset about not having this option with the Galaxy S6. Moving back to the battery, power users with 100% screen brightness can expect about 4 hours of on-screen time, whereas your light to moderate users having a mix of on-screen and standby time should be able to get about a day-and-a-half use out of the battery. So battery life is somewhere between decent and pretty good considering the display. Obviously, I wouldn't mind having more battery life just like everyone else, but for a 1440p display, I'm okay with it. It also doesn't hurt that the battery can be charged rather quickly. Exterior-wise, this phone also sports a micro USB port and a 3.5mm jack on the bottom. Personally, not a fan of 3.5mm jacks on the bottom of a device. It doesn't make much sense to me, but maybe it's there due to hardware limitations. And moving on to the back, you can find your power and volume buttons, as well as a 16-megapixel rear camera and an 8-megapixel selfie camera up front. Now, LG claims you can get DSLR-like quality out of the main camera, which is a pretty bold claim, and while it's not exactly true, it's still pretty good for a smartphone. Probably its best feature is the ability to shoot in manual mode, which gives you the option to change things like white balance, shutter speed, and ISO. You can also shoot in RAW, which is a big plus for those looking to get the most out of their photos. Auto mode is not bad either, but even with that f1.8 lens, it may take a couple tries to get that photo of your pet or child just right. Overall though, most people will be satisfied with its point and shoot abilities, even in low light. I was a little disappointed to find that the video mode doesn't offer quite the same level of control as the manual photo mode. You can shoot up to UHD resolution, but the controls for focus, ISO, and shutter speed are gone. Image stabilization also seems to distort the video at certain points, so hopefully that can be addressed in the future.
Let's just see what happens.
There is a slow mode for video, which iPhone users can appreciate, although video quality is greatly degraded as it only shoots at 720p, albeit at 120 frames per second though, so it does have the potential for some cool shots. Internally, the G4 is rocking a Snapdragon 808 processor, which for those that don't know, is a 6-core, 64-bit CPU running at 1.8 GHz. It's not the top-of-the-line Snapdragon processor available, but honestly, combined with 3 GB of RAM, this thing whips through Android 5.1 with no issues at all. Seriously, it's pretty snappy. Definitely the fastest phone I've used to date. And speaking of Android, the G4 comes with a lightly skinned version of 5.1 Lollipop. It actually reminds me of TouchWiz in some aspects, and you do get a few bundled LG apps, but overall, I don't mind it. It does add some cool features like the ability to run in dual window mode, which lets you navigate 2 separate apps at the same time. So to bring this all to a closing, I think LG is providing a great experience with the G4. There's definitely some room for improvement, but can I recommend this phone? The answer is yes, I can. And that about wraps it up, guys. Like this video if you found it helpful or entertaining, subscribe for more similar content, and until next time, see ya. What I have here is an XFX XTR 850 power supply and an XFX Radeon R9 290. I haven't had any first-hand experience with XFX